Welcome back, New Jersey football fans, to the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show here at Studio B on the D2 Sports Network and South Jersey Glory Days Facebook page. Mark Tribble, your host, joined by co-host Tim McEnany, Rod Self, as always, running the show here tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. A lot to talk about tonight. I think there's something to talk about right here on this shirt. I think we're going to get to that as well.
Couple mea culpas, a lot of mea culpa.
A lot of you a culpa.
He a culpa.
You a culpa over here. Hey, look, we had a big game last week that it lived up to the hype for one side, maybe not so much the other. We're going to talk about that. We got a lot of action coming up this week too. We'll get to all the action in South Jersey football, as well as, hey, maybe you want to talk a little baseball too? We'll see how it goes.
Hopefully Philadelphia fans aren't nervous.
Yeah, I know.
I sense it though.
Hector's already in the chat saying, "Let's go Mets." We do have some North Jersey fans. We appreciate you guys watching, even if we're not rooting for your baseball team tonight or any night.
Ever. History.
I want to give a shout out first and foremost, though, to our presenting sponsor here, the West Jersey Football Coach. Of South Jersey Glory Days, the reason we have a platform to come to you all every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Thank you, Sully. Visit his site, sjglorydays.com. He had a banner month last month. A lot of reads, a lot of visits, all good stuff. A lot of South Jersey football and South Jersey sports being explored on the site. So good for you, and thank you again, Sully. Mac, let's get right down to it here. Game of the week last week. You said, it's hard to stop Brooks, hard to stop Millville. Winslow absolutely did. This was a complete domination, Mac, from the beginning.
Shocked. I was, like I said, mea culpa, top of the show. I wasn't sure. I mean, I was back in Millville, was not expecting the beatdown that just happened. I mean, I don't know if Millville was expecting it. Feels like Winslow was a little bit, right? Listen, I'm.
All right, so we had the audio highlights here, Mac. You look at Winslow coming in, the way that they played, the way that they came into the game. Like you said, they were confident coming in. They were excited. They knew that they had exactly what it took to beat Millville. What did you think the overall difference was? Because here's what I think it was. 116 yards of offense for Millville. Right there. I mean, you talk about Parker played well, quarterback. You have a bevy of options to throw the ball to. Nakeem Powell playing running back. Defense travels.
Winslow shut down Millville.
Absolutely.
Period.
Yeah.
I mean, 116 yards. I mean, Millville's been averaging 350, 400 for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So, like I was saying, the turnover too. Like you get that turnover, and then you get 21, and now it's you kind of start having to play a little catch up. Like the Millville running game can't. That in the last couple of years, you focus so much Brooks, and then a spitter comes down on the run game, and they were in a position where they were playing catch up, but Winslow created that atmosphere of having to play catch up. Like they're causing turnovers, as you said. Defense travels.
Yep.
It was more dudes taking care of business.
It seemed to me from the beginning of the game, and there was only one time I doubted it, and I'll get to that here in a second. But from the beginning of the game, Winslow had a plan, and they executed it. The kids were on the same page. They knew they had a game plan, and they were going to enforce their will on the other side. Millville, on the other hand, if they had a game plan, they either got away from it so quickly that you couldn't really tell what it was, or they just really weren't expecting to get kind of socked in the mouth the way they did early. The only time I wondered about Winslow was right before that play we showed where Cam Miller caught that touchdown, 4th and 17 to start the second half. Because they came out there in 4th and long, they got to go for it. They got to burn a timeout on the first drive of the second half, and you're thinking, it's 14-7. Millville really, the only life they had is Shamar Collins' fumble return right before the half. Right. And now here they are. They get a stop. They get the ball back. They can go down and tie it. And a perfect play call from Winslow proved everybody a fool. They throw that thing into the corner. Well, like you said, beautiful pass.
Great pass. But
Cam Miller, beautiful catch, and then that was really it.
And don't think, I'm not in that locker room before the game, but don't think you're walking around as Winslow going, they know who's hyped on the other side.
Yeah, no doubt.
Right? I mean, these are high school kids, but they know who the highly touted, everybody's talking about on, and all this stuff, and, they're hearing Brooks, and they want to come out and they want to be the guys that are being talked about.
Well, I think it was a little bit of all of that. I think this was kind of brewing since the summertime. Mm-hmm. I mean, you take the 7-on-7 games, you take kids coming in and out of town, guys committing to colleges. Yeah. I think it was a little bit of what about us? Absolutely. You know what I mean? Right. Like everybody talks about, what's going on with Millville and Brooks, and, Cam Miller is like, hey, I'm going Big Ten.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you have a bunch of guys, not only Cam Miller, but you have a bunch of guys on that team that are going Division I, and that was their coming out party.
Players.
And let me tell you, Nakeem Powell is one of my favorite players in South Jersey, and it's because he can do it all. And we saw him turn into a running back in the second half of that game. He catches the touchdown pass in the first half. He's the starting tailback in the second half. We've never seen him. I mean, the first half he didn't touch the ball in the backfield. Forced into duty. 21 carries, 80-some yards. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's number 21 in the back. He looks like a receiver in the backfield, but he's running between the tackles, sustaining the drives, in a place where nobody's been able to run the ball in Millville.
Right.
And, I mean, Powell hit the hole. You got to give a lot of credit to Hatfield and company up front playing between tackles. But
tough kid.
Very impressed with him. Very impressed.
Right. Tough kid. When that receiver, when he goes in, when you see the receiver types, we'll call them types, body types. Yeah. But then with the downhill mentality, that's why they're difference makers, right? Yeah. Because you can take a high school football player who's an elite high school football player typically, and really. I bet you he'd play guard if you need him to. Yeah. I mean, he would play any position you need him to do.
Well, and to the point that Rod said about what about me, right? A lot of talent on that Winslow team. Everybody knows that. A lot of talent. But talent doesn't make for anything other than, good window dressing. Sure. Unless you have what they had, which was team football and selflessness. They wanted to win the game as a team and show what they were about. And there wasn't a guy who wanted to show what his stats were about or gets his shine on the spotlight, game of the week, everybody's watching. This was just a workman-like game from all of them. And Cam Miller gets the hat in this game. He didn't have very many receptions. He had the big touchdown catch. He had a good return, played great on defense. But there were other stat lines greater than his, but he was the leader of that effort of let's just do whatever it takes.
And that's what I wanted to get to. Cam Miller did win the hat. He won the hat because of what he was able to do in all three phases of the game, right?
He was their best football player that day.
He was the best player on the field. It was very clear that he was the best player that day, right? So
the non-stat stuff.
The non-stats popped out. But I don't want this to be overshadowed. Millville has been running the ball very well the last couple of games. However, that front seven, and we talked about it. I said, I'm going to watch that defensive line and the offensive line to see. That's going to tell me who win the game. The front seven, as far as the linemen, D-line goes, and those linebackers, they played on the other side of the line of scrimmage all night.
Right.
And that, to me, was the game because they couldn't throw it. They couldn't run it. They Millville wasn't very good in the special teams department. I mean, all around domination.
Kostarfin, the whole crew, they were everywhere. They showed from the very beginning. And look, you watch a game like that, and I'd be lying to you if I said I wanted to see 35-7 in 1 versus 2. I mean, you want to see a game for the ages.
I thought it was one-score game, right? I was saying, 20? I was saying 48 points. I mean, I was close on points, but I didn't think they'd be flipped like that.
You want to see a classic game.
Yes.
But the other side of it is what you saw was there's one true number one in South Jersey.
No doubt.
And there's still a lot of football to play.
A lot. Mm-hmm.
But I'll say this. And this is what I said at the end of what I wrote for Sully. The two things that were abundantly clear when the game ended is Winslow's number one, and if these teams face again, Millville has a lot of work to do before they face again.
Right.
And they probably will face again, and everybody kind of knows that. Even all things considered, what happened last week. There's a lot of work to do on one side, and the other side is all about keeping it up, and improving every week too, even though you're on
Rod,
top
you
of
talk about playing chips on shoulders and stuff like that in the summers and all the build up. You know, in those type of situations, sometimes being the road team, right? Like they're hearing, oh, we're going into Wheaton Field, the new turf, and blah 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 down there, and now Winslow. All right, we're not only not supposed to win, and everybody's talking about Millville. We're now going to their place. And so there's something about when you can go to someone else's place and take it from them. Yeah. I mean, that's, that makes it even that much more impressive. But sometimes guys like playing on the road a little bit. Some teams do. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, I could say this, Coach Mack. I'm going to give y'all some exclusive. Behind the scenes, I was talking to some of the Winslow guys. And they kind of felt that this is what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
They kind of felt like we're going to make a statement. We're going into their house. Mm-hmm. We're going to do whatever we want to do, and everybody's going to see it and feel it. Yeah. I kind of
wanting to do it and doing it, different things. Yeah. And they wanted to do it.
They definitely wanted. They wanted the challenge,
and they did it. I mean, they did it. I was, I'm flicking to it, and I'm like going. Like, I'm showing people, like, look what's going on, look what's going on, look what's going on. And they're like, what? I'm like, yo. So impressive. Like we saw all three phases.
All three phases.
And the best player on the field that day, that night, Cam. And he as you said, Wisconsin, he's like, look, I don't care about what's being played down in SEC. They're playing, we're big time football. I mean, in the Big Ten too.
When you have a player that says, I want him, or whatever you need me to do, coach, I'll do it. In that game, we watched one player shadow the other. So Cam Miller took on the challenge of taking Brooks man for man coverage. They went to him a couple times, and Cam just played tremendous defense. And then on the flip side, it poses a problem for Millville because they weren't able to shadow. I mean, people are saying, well, Cam Miller followed Brooks. You cannot necessarily do that with Winslow because they got another dude out there.
Yeah, you got the other guy.
Another two dudes out there. You
got Bolson. You got dudes all over the field.
This guy putting on a Syracuse jacket after the game, man.
Yeah. I mean, the talent level certainly Winslow. The execution though of that talent. I mean, how they coalesced and played as one. Credit to Coach Belton, Coach Nash.
But listen,
those guys like.
You think of Bill, anybody you saw, we were one of your trivias earlier was people were asking about the best player they ever seen play high school football, and Billy Belton could be in that conversation as well. But what Billy knows, and I'm not saying he's learned, but he knows, even playing, the skill positions he did through his career, the big boys, when in the big games, the big boys make the difference.
Yeah. So it was something that was said to me by Coach Nash, Miles Nash. You remember he came in last year, drew it up on the drawing board. What he said to me, and it stuck in my head, he said, we needed that last year. He said, we needed that. He said, one thing I saw was they were in the weight room. So when I was looking at the offense and defensive line, that's part of what I was looking at. So that loss last year to Mainland taught them something. Hey, we got to be in the weight room year round. And
it's not the quads, it's the hammies, right? It's the back of the leg. When you see a team, when they come out with the hammies, they're doing the squats, the deadlifts, the lifts that you don't like to do, right? That's what makes you better. Right. As you said, Coach, that makes you a better football player.
Well, and very rarely does a team just roll out of bed, go through the season, and end up at the top. I mean, I think last year you could argue Mainland kind of was close to that. They had an incredible season. They were good the year before. But Winslow, even dating back to that regional championship game against Millville a few years ago, you remember that game, what happened was LaQuinn Allen ran it 45 times. And Winslow couldn't stop them. And they got gashed right at the line of scrimmage, Rod. Right. And like last year with Mainland, they got gashed at the line of scrimmage. So that memory building to, hey guys, we got all the talent on the outside. But let's play inside that box and let's get strong and tough. And that could be the difference between us being a really good team and a sectional champ and being a great team and a state champ or number one in South Jersey.
100%. 100%.
Great game for Winslow. They had kind of quite a run of games here, and they got another big one this weekend as well. We're going to touch on that. We'll be back in a moment to review the rest of the games last week. We had some good ones. We got some good knots of the week for you. So stay tuned to the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show. The South Jersey Football Frenzy Show's presenting sponsor is the West Jersey Football Coaches Association. The West Jersey Football Coaches Association was established to promote, improve, and unite football in South Jersey. And in less than 4 years, the association created the Battle at the Beach and dedicated itself to helping others. They've donated close to $80,000 to date to provide scholarships through the National Football Foundation and the Touchdown Club of Southern New Jersey. The group has also donated to the charity Philly Faces, which helps those in need of facial reconstruction surgery. Thank you to the West Jersey Football Coaches Association for their sponsorship of the show. The South Jersey Football Frenzy Show is also sponsored by SRA Home Products. South Jersey, let me tell you about my friends over at SRA Home Products. SRA has been building sunrooms, pergolas, and patio covers for over 25 years. They've built more than 9,000 projects in the Delaware Valley. I've had nothing but the best to say about Mike Foti in the time I've had the chance to be around him and his crew. SRA is a gold accredited member of the Better Business Bureau, under the elite provider status with Home Advisor, and they've racked up Best of South Jersey awards throughout their past. They contribute to multiple sport associations and are huge supporters of Williamstown football. Find them online at srahomeproducts.com. The South Jersey Football Frenzy Show is also sponsored by the NJFOA South Officials Association. Are you passionate about football? Don't wait. Become a part of the NJFOA South Officials Association and join them to help officiate high school football games. With a diverse community of more than 250 members, they proudly oversee every high school football game in South Jersey, setting the standard for officiating in the state. By joining the chapter, you will become part of a team that upholds the highest standards in the game. They are more than just officials. They are advocates for sportsmanship, integrity, and guardians of player safety, champions of fair play. They offer the proper training to ensure you're ready to make the calls and uphold the values. Ready to put on the stripes and join the team? Visit www.njfoasouth.org and hit Join Us to register now. That's www.njfoa-south.org and hit Join Us to register now. Elevate your love for the game and become a football official with NJFOA South. Welcome back, New Jersey football fans, to the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show. Let's go right into last week. We had a lot of major games, Mac, and then there's some other games when you look at some surprise winners week after week. Now, I don't know that they're such surprises, but
This
you
next
win 4 or 5 in a row. I think you're
that's good.
permanent mention on the show here for a little bit. One of those teams, Mac, Holy Cross beat Riverside on Thursday night, 19-14. Anthony D'Ambrosio, great game for him. Receiving touchdown, kickoff return touchdown, interception, forced fumble. They're 5-0 for the first time since 2014. Kevin Emmons wrote a story about Holy Cross. TJ Madera, head coach. Tom Madera, his assistant. When you were starting out coaching, could you have had your dad on your staff?
I did.
Did you?
In Bishop Eustis, 1998, my first year. My dad was on the staff.
How was that?
So,
1 year. It was my first year.
1 year. It was great because, looking back on it now as a 50-year-old, it was a great experience.
Yeah.
At the time, look, you got a clash of styles, right?
Yep.
And a little bit of old school, new school. He's 40 years older than me, right? At the time, I think he's 68 years old or something. Probably could have still been in this era. He probably still would have been coaching.
Yeah.
He retired from teaching, so he retired from coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, guys coach till they're 75 years old and still don't teach. He was still had coaching in him, but he stepped down from teaching. But the funny story was he would sometimes call out plays or formations based on the Pennsauken days. And because I was around both worlds and we had different vernacular, I would change it.
Translate it.
Translate it. It would come in, and my quarterback would look at me like, what did he just say? And I'm like, oh, that's 26, that's power. So he'd call the drive series, and I'd get a head tilt from our quarterback, and I'd be like, real quick, on the fly, change it. Though it was great. It's cool that Coach Madera and Coach Madera are together. I mean, what a resource on some things. I mean, I just told a story yesterday about how some of the conversations with parents that I was involved in and he was involved in, that you would look back and you're like, wow, that was helpful.
Yeah.
Because those old guys, I don't mean to call Tom old, but he's older than
TJ.
He's older than TJ, and he has seen a lot, right? It's like the commercial, right? They know a lot because they've seen a lot, they've been through a lot. Not only on the field, but off the field. So pretty cool for them. Good for Holy Cross, 5-0.
5-0 for the Lancers. Vineland was the highest scoring team in South Jersey last week, and they beat Clearview on Thursday night, 54-0. Elijah Calderon, 3 pass touchdowns, 3 rush touchdowns. If you had him in your fantasy football team, I'm sure you probably won the week. Friday night, you had the debut of Kenny Smith at running back for Glassboro, 14 carries, 197 yards, and 2 touchdowns. As the Bulldogs beat Woodbury 34-0. Camden 44, Rancocas Valley 27. Christian Braxton 30 carries, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jaden Steele 112 yards rushing on 13 carries. Malik Red Hubbard 2 receiving touchdowns. Big win for Camden, bouncing back after last week. They needed it, Mac.
Right. I mean, after the Spirit loss, we were talking about last week. I mean, RV's in a tough spot, right? RV had a good win the week before against Shawnee, and then coming in, Camden's in a situation where they're licking their wounds a little bit after Holy Spirit, who was licking their wounds from the week prior, right? I mean, I don't want to call it revenge, but getting, we used to look at it. I remember didn't matter what week it was, and after your game, it's whatever. We used to play at 7:00 a normal hour back in 10, 12 years ago. And, around 9:30, after you digest your game and you talk to your kids and everybody's leaving the field, you start asking around, hey, who won? Who did what? We would be asking you guys, hey, Mark, what went on through South Jersey? And then you're like, the team that you're about to play the next week, you found out they might have lost in a heartbreaker, or, a game they should have won. And you're like, oh my gosh, now we're there, Sometimes it was always nice to be their other team's trap game occasionally, right? Like, all right, they're on a roll. Maybe they're looking a little past, or they're starting to smell themselves. So getting a good team off a loss is typical. Sometimes like, ooh, we gotta recalibrate because these guys, a good team that's well coached and has disciplined kids like Camden is, you knew they were gonna get you're gonna get their best effort against RV.
No, there's no doubt about it, Mac. And RV on their side, Brody Dieter, 7 receptions, 254 yards, and 2 touchdowns. This is the second best receiving game in Burlington County history and 5th in South Jersey history, Mac. That's quite an accomplishment. Number 1 all-time, Isaac Irby of Holy Cross.
Yeah, I mean, to be in that company, to be in Irby's company of a team, think about that. Holy Cross used to have many 1,000-yard receivers each year, year in and year out, and then being the 5th in South Jersey history. That's huge. It's a day against, by the way, a really good Camden High team. So Coach Hinson, he's even back after that win talking to his kids like, yo, we can't let a dude have 254 now. So Camden High still with a win, best of both worlds as a coaching, right? Yep. You get the win, and we got things to work on. We got to figure stuff out because 254 is a not acceptable number on the defense side of the ball.
Yeah, and they have a week to figure things out. Less than that now, as they have Winslow this weekend. St. Augustine 21, Mainland 3. Julian Turney 136 yards rushing for the Hermits. Roman Coney with a rush touchdown. Liam Flynn caught a touchdown. No Rocco DiBiase for the Stangs in this one. They averaged less than 2 yards a carry. They had 46 yards on 20 carries, a very un-Mainland-like stat line there. I think they had 5 completions and 4 interceptions. The Hermits' defense always travels. We know that. They had this one at home as they beat the Mustangs 21-3. Right. They got a big one this week with the winner of last week's game between Cedar Creek comes to Seekin. Holy Spirit wins 28-14. Amir Hicks, 29 carries, 143 yards, 3 touchdowns. Atlantic City, huge win over Cherokee. Shout out to the Vikings. They have shown that they are back after that opening season loss to Mainland, and then they had a rough loss to Millville that fell apart specifically in the second half.
Right.
They went 18-15 over Cherokee. Peaky Roseboro, 14-21, 195 yards. Also ran for 67 yards and a touchdown. Ice Cup, 115 yards and a rushing touchdown. Roseboro's making a case, and we'll see where things end up. A lot of football to play, like we said in the first segment. He's working his way into all South Jersey quarterback consideration. I mean, put up a lot of numbers on the ground. He's playing well at quarterback. Atlantic City keeps stacking wins. They could find a Viking in that conversation.
Right, just keep taking care of the football. I mean, look, the 14 for 21's really good. I also, no, you don't want the picks, you don't want the turnovers. We have a team that's playing across the river that.
If Peaky's free on Sundays, maybe we could.
Let's take care of the football.
Yeah, take care of the ball. Paul VI beats previously unbeaten Willingboro 28-0. Nate Klecko, 14 carries, 100 yards, and a touchdown. Also caught a touchdown. Elijah Woods, 2 rushing touchdowns. For now, Paul VI has certainly bounced back after their loss earlier in the season to St. Augustine. It's a big win for them as Willingboro was in our best 11 rankings. They were undefeated. Kenny Scott gets his first loss at Willingboro at the hands of Coach Scuderia and company at Paul VI. Washington Township 21, Williamstown 10. Cole Aquino, 123 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Paris Pratt, 4 catches, one of them a touchdown. Deshaun Long also grabbed a touchdown. Mac, you saw Shawnee take down the school where you used to coach before, 28-14. This one not on Turkey Day exactly, but Brett Lundberg, 22 carries, 181 yards, 2 touchdowns. Cole Anderson ran for $118, 2 touchdowns. The run game, man. I mean, if you can run, why change it? Shawnee, 28-14.
Right. At Lundberg, I think has close to over 600 yards rushing, maybe close to 7 in the games. Anderson, freshman quarterback. The Solomon kid got hurt against Camden High, and Anderson, son of Brian Anderson. Brian's former coach at Shawnee, former captain of Shawnee. Look, very tough kid. Shawnee did not throw a pass the entire game. Did not throw a pass. Now,
old school Hamilton
I
style.
think they had a couple passes called, but then Cole tucked it and took it. He had a buck and he had 200 yards rushing the week before against RV. He has 118 here. The Lundberg kid, it was kind of ironic. After a win, you don't really care how you win, right? A win's a win's a win. You don't care how you get it done, but not even an incomplete pass, not one. So I was kind of ribbing Coach Scuderi Jr. I don't think he's ever.
Right.
I mean, anybody who knows Dennis Jr., Dennis does like to throw the ball. But we'll do what you need to do to win football games. And right now with a young quarterback, hey, let's keep the ball, not turn it over, move the chains, and play tough defense. So we'll talk in some games, and it's going to be imperative that that formula works for them. They got the Chiefs coming up Friday night for them.
Coach Dennis Thomas here in the comments. I like to think Coach Thomas has us up in the practice facility at Syracuse, saying, "Guys, listen to all these guys. We got to go after. We know we're recruiting them, but
Right.
Tribble and Mac, I've seen them. They know they're pretty
we know.
good." Here's one for you,
The 82-inch screen TV that they're watching us on.
Here's one for you, Coach Thomas. Pensacola beats Eastern 49-29. R.J. Blunt, 24 carries, 346 yards, and 6 touchdowns for Saucon, the second highest yards mark since Martin Booker's 376 in 2016. If I'm not mistaken, I think that 376 was in a playoff loss for Saucon.
I believe so. Yes.
Didn't he score like 5 or 6 touchdowns in a wild game?
Yes.
One game he went crazy.
Yeah,
and they
lost on the
losing.
road. I think it was a wild playoff game.
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of points, got to tackle. Hey, we see another team that's not tackling. I mean,
it's baseball season, man. Northern Burlington 20, Cinnaminson 14 in overtime. Christian Hall gets the game-winning rushing touchdown for the Greyhounds. EHT 41, Deptford 12. Noah Dawkins 127 yards and 3 touchdowns. 2 fumbles recovered by TJ Biglin, 1 recovered in the end zone. Cherry Hill East still undefeated. They beat ACIT 35-0. Denzel Lee, every week we're mentioning him. He's having a great season for the Cougars. 10 carries, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns. Pemberton 20, Lawrence 14. I got to give a shout out here because Pemberton wins this game 20-14 with a scoop and score touchdown from Anthony Carter or not, and EJ Zabata Smalls with a kick return touchdown. So you win by 6. You get 14 points off of special teams and defense. Mac, that's pretty good. Coach Thomas says they're in Vegas, but they're watching from Vegas, so that's good. Put it on black for me, Dennis. Lower Cape May 29, St. Joe's Hamilton 12. Lower Cape May's first win of the year. Burlington Township 31, Delran 10. This was a battle of unbeatens. Baron Davis 12 of 21 for 214 yards, 2 touchdowns passing, 1 rushing touchdown for the Falcons. And Bryce Belafonte continues his stellar career for Woodstown. 27 carries, 168 yards, and 2 touchdowns as the Wolverines beat Pensgrove 17-6. Ocean City beats Hamilton 28-14. Clay Compton 111 yards rushing and a touchdown. Haddonfield ends their 2-game skid with a win over Pleasantville 21-8. Kai Richards, Dan Keenan rushing touchdowns. Bishop Eustis, this is one of the surprises of the season. If you haven't been paying attention, Sal Roccaboldo is putting his name in for Coach of the Year. This is a program that forfeited a couple of games last season. They're now 5-0. Makai Simmons, 25 carries, 195 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Delano Mann gets 2 knots of the week. 2 knots of the week, Rod. He had 106 yards receiving, but he has this kickoff return touchdown, and he also South. This is exactly how you need to do it. Makes one man miss, and he is gone for the Crusaders. Excellent return, and he's got the scoop and score too. Here he is on the edge. It's not a very long scoop and score, but you know what?
Hey, listen, he scooped it.
It all counts the same.
He scooped it. He scored it. It's okay. It's all good.
2 knots. You would think that certainly puts him alone for the week. But we have another guy with 2 knots later, Rod. Later, we're gonna get to him later.
So we got a Holy Cross team that's 5-0.
Yes.
We got a Bishop Eustis team that's 5-0.
Yes.
And we have a Camden Catholic team.
Yes, we are. Coach Gilliam said he would be watching tonight, and I know he is. 44-0. Camden Catholic beats Pennsville. Michael Moritz, 138 yards passing, 2 touchdowns in the air, 2 on the ground. Joshua Collier catches a touchdown. Bryce Clark with a pick 6. Look, I think Bryce Clark might have had a pick 6 the other week as well.
Yes, he did.
Camden Catholic's undefeated. Those 3 are undefeated, Mac.
Do they play each other?
That's a good question.
Like back in the day, we all played each other.
Yeah, they shuffle the schedule around now, but
Yeah, but that's a good shuffle. I
Yeah.
mean, why wouldn't we used to when I
Cherry Hill Mall
when
Bowl.
I was at Eustis, we played cross. When I was at Cross, we played Eustis. When I came to Catholic, played both. I mean, back to the Cherry Hill Mall days too. Cross was the new one because the old Liberty division of the Burlington County you split up and did their thing. But why wouldn't they? And why wouldn't the parochials play each other?
but I just want to give the coaches their credit because the way that they're winning is very, very impressive. Those programs were down a little bit, so to come back in and get some wins is really good. But it's the way that they're winning that I really like. It's
Absolutely. Look, when you go into a program that's Eustis, for example, they forfeited 2 games last year, right? And so Sal is infusing energy and a belief, and Sal doesn't lose many games as a player himself and as a competitor. So I'm not saying that sometimes you just have less talent on a team, but Sal's,
Well, they've got at Holy Cross in 2 weeks.
oh, there you go.
So there you go.
Right. I apologize that I'm not the schedule savant like yourself.
Well, I have the internet. That's it.
But that's good, right? I mean, that's what you like to see. Hopefully you see maybe 2 undefeated teams.
Yeah, now, here's the other guy and the other team that continues to rack up wins that we may not have been expecting before the season. Bridgeton beats Triton 35-6. Look, this Bridgeton story, Bridgeton has had an unbelievable group of players for a long time. I mean, they're starting to get the kids to come out for the team, be a part of what's going on. But how about our guy, Jeremiah Russell? 3 interceptions. And Rod, let's go to the videotape. 2 of them end up in the end zone. House. So our two Man and Russell both had 2 knots. If somebody gets 3 knots next week, I guarantee you'll be knot of the week. We're raising our bar. At first, it was just 1. It used to just be like a punt return in a blowout, and now we got guys submitting them all over. Thank you, Chris Baker, for tracking a lot of these
Getting
downs.
1 knot in a career is these guys.
You would think that's great.
Yeah, it is. 2 in a day, 2 in a night. That's not bad. 2 non-offensive touchdowns. Right?
Excellent job. Excellent job by both those young men. Congratulations to Bridgeton and Bishop Eustace. Delsey gets their first win for Coach Jason Volpe, 24-7 over Timber Creek. Dan Russo, 24 carries, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. Clayton, 41, Gateway 7. Another guy we've been mentioning a lot this year, Demetrius Williams, 17 carries, 250 touchdowns. He's 1,000 yards in just 5 games. That's not bad, right, Mac?
That's a pretty good average.
Yeah.
200. I'll take it.
Some other scores from Friday night. Heights 28, Morristown 13, Seneca 21, Gloucester 13.
Young Anthony Diorios get the Eagles
4 in a row now,
yes,
right?
Yep. They started out 0-1 and now they're on a roll.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Look, again, another competitor, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Diorio as a player back in 13 and 12 and 11 with Shawnee. My gosh, unstoppable. That's when guys played with broken bones and were allowed to play with broken bones. He was that type of guy. So, it's not surprising. And it's nice, with having the grooming of Fish, being there and same staff, kind of similar, the handing off or handing down, it made the transitions a little bit smoother. So, but you want to put your stamp on it, and then Anthony's doing a great job.
Yeah, these 1-possession games, it seems like, and they're finding a way to win. That says a lot about your coaching staff, says a lot about your kids. Bordentown 14, Maple Shade 7, Palmyra 18, Wildwood 0. Kip Academy 46, Lindenwold 2. Cherry Hill West beats Highland 14-6. Burlington City 32, Florence 6. Pittman 41, Mastery Charter 14. Saturday, the Hawks of Haddon Township win on a late score. They beat Collingswood 20-14. West Deptford beats Audubon 42-3. Another debut here. Bryce Wright, welcome to West Deptford. 8 carries, 109 yards, and a touchdown. Had a receiving touchdown. Also took the opening kick to the house. He played at Penns Grove last season for Coach Emmel. Oakcrest 35, Absegami 17. Donovan Linthicum, 14 carries, 4 touchdowns, 117 yards rushing, 12 tackles on defense. Ryan Staten with a pick 6 also for the Falcons. Shalleck beats Salem 37-14. Reggie Allen, 131 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. Riley Papiano, 16 tackles. Great game on defense for Riley as the Cougars roll past Salem by 23. Paulsboro 38, Overbrook 26, Kingsway 16, Eastside 8, Sterling 20, Gloucester Catholic 13. That's all the scores that are fit to print from last week. I think that's all of them, Mac. We got some games to look forward to this week, too.
I'll trust you, Trib. I trust you on them. It's all the games.
Yeah. Coach Fish is watching. Thanks, Coach. We know you're locked in the recliner, man, enjoying retirement and trying to forget about the birds.
Fish is never on a recliner. He's always bopping around.
All right. Yeah, he might be. I don't know. He seemed when he got in the Hall of Fame at Ocean City that he was going to put his feet up for a little bit.
Another one. Scully's earlier question, like the best high school football player. Does getting Zach Dumas in your face?
I thought you were talking about Fish. That's who you were going to say.
Well, listen, Fish, he did a great job running their offense, trust me. But when you got Billy Williams and Zach Dumas in the backfield.
What kind of segue is that? Fish is watching, here's his name, and Max says, by the way, best players you've ever seen play?
Zach Dumas.
Zach Dumas.
Well, no.
Yeah, Fish, you're a nice guy too, but
Fish will voucher, but he'll hit a button. Listen, play Zach Dumas. Ohio State, Zach Dumas.
We might have to have Fish in on the show one week.
I'm sure he can get out his recliner to do.
We love you, Fish. We got a lot of action to cover for next week, so stay tuned. We're going to preview next week's big action. Down the line, we're going to talk about Game of the Week and have our Best 11 rankings, which obviously have a shakeup this week. So stay tuned to the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show. The South Jersey Football Frenzy Show's presenting sponsor is the West Jersey Football Coaches Association. The West Jersey Football Coaches Association was established to promote, improve, and unite football in South Jersey. And in less than 4 years, the association created the Battle at the Beach and dedicated itself to helping others. They've donated close to $80,000 to date to provide scholarships through the National Football Foundation and the Touchdown Club of Southern New Jersey. The group has also donated to the charity Philly Faces, which helps those in need of facial reconstruction surgery. Thank you to the West Jersey Football Coaches Association for their sponsorship of the show. The South Jersey Football Frenzy Show is also sponsored by SRA Home Products. South Jersey, let me tell you about my friends over at SRA Home Products. SRA has been building sunrooms, pergolas, and patio covers for over 25 years. They've built more than 9,000 projects in the Delaware Valley. I've had nothing but the best to say about Mike Foti in the time I've had the chance to be around him and his crew. SRA is a gold accredited member of the Better Business Bureau, under the elite provider status with Home Advisor, and they've racked up Best of South Jersey awards throughout their past. They contribute to multiple sport associations and are huge supporters of Williamstown football. Find them online at srahomeproducts.com. The South Jersey Football Frenzy Show is also sponsored by the NJFOA South Officials Association. Are you passionate about football? Don't wait. Become a part of the NJFOA South Officials Association and join them to help officiate high school football games. With a diverse community of more than 250 members, they proudly oversee every high school football game in South Jersey, setting the standard for officiating in the state. By joining the chapter, you will become part of a team that upholds the highest standards in the game. They are more than just officials. They are advocates for sportsmanship, integrity, and guardians of player safety, champions of fair play. They offer the proper training to ensure you're ready to make the calls and uphold the values. Ready to put on the stripes and join the team? Visit www.njfoasouth.org and hit Join Us to register now. That's www.njfoa-south.org and hit Join Us to register now. Elevate your love for the game and become a football official with NJFOA South. Welcome back to the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show. Mac, a lot of baseball on the schedule. We know that the Phils don't start till Saturday, and we got some guys in here watching the games.
We're like an ESPN look-in, 1-1, bottom of the first.
Yeah, just put us on the background, or put baseball in the background. Still be going on after we're done. Some good games this week. I think the last couple of weeks we've kind of been spoiled with the top matchups. We do have some pretty good ones this week as well. Let's touch on Thursday. First off, if you want to get out on Thursday night, there are 2 games for you to see in South Jersey. Buna's at St. Joe Hamilton at 6, and Woodbury at Gateway, another former Thanksgiving Day clash, at 6:30. That's Thursday. Friday, Mac, another close rivalry in the school district. Cedar Creek at Oak Crest, 6 p.m. Oak Crest, big win last week. Cedar Creek coming off that Holy Spirit loss. This one, I don't think there's any love lost there with these neighborhood teams.
No, when these old Thanksgiving rivalries or inter-district rivalries play, throw out the records, as they say. I mean, battles.
Cedar Creek has been the team on the block, right, in that school district for a number of years. And Oak Crest now has gained momentum here the last couple of years with Coach Forrest, and certainly that'll be an entertaining one, 6 p.m. at Oak Crest. Willingboro and Timber Creek, 2 teams looking to rebound. Willingboro took it on the chin of Paul 6 last week. Timber Creek the same against Delsey. They're going to match up at Timber Creek at 6 p.m. Mac, this could be an exciting game as well.
Yeah, I mean, I looked for Willingboro to bounce back, but it's at Creek, and it's always difficult to play there. And both teams coming. Who's gonna figure it out, right? Who's gonna figure it out off that? Who's gonna have the bounce back? That's what you look at these type of things.
We mentioned last week, I think it was, Timber Creek had a really daunting stretch coming up. They dropped the game to Delsey. Now with Willingboro, a couple more games down the line that are tough too. So the Chargers really need to dig down in that one. You got Camden, you got Winslow. It's at Winslow, 6 p.m. Camden bounced back with a huge win over RV. The offense found its groove. They ran the ball. They threw the ball. Gave up, like you said, too many yards, too many points for Coach Hinson. He's certainly not going to be happy about that last week. But Winslow, look, toast of the town, coming off St. Augustine win, Millville blowout, coming home right next to the car dealership. Going to be a night game.
Walking tacos.
And the walking tacos. Do not forget the walking tacos. The walking tacos were number 1 long before Winslow was number 1. Never forget that.
Look, this is all right.
That's true.
No doubt.
They've been number 1 for a number of years.
Hey, Winslow, right? This is when you look at that trap situation, right? You got the high coming in. I'm sure Coach Hintz likes his spot where he is, right? Oh, hey, guys, everybody's talking about Winslow. Winslow beat Millville, this, that, and the other. So we got to see Winslow. You got to stack it and back it, right? Yeah. You got to – if I'm Coach Belton, I'm sitting there telling those guys, the Millville win, I'm not saying it doesn't mean anything, but if you want that to resonate on how big that was, we got to take care of business against Camden High.
Well, with this game, I gotta highlight this one. It's Camden Winslow. If you know anything, those 2 programs, they kind of go hand in hand. Like Winslow is like, we call Winslow up the highway because our family and friends move up the highway.
It's a long highway, but I understand what you mean, right?
So when that game is on, it's going to be a cookout. There's going to be the bands.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. There's going to be uncles, cousins, and brothers that either played at Camden or Wilson or something.
Right.
Their kids now play for Winslow. So it's Coach Hinson coached Miles Nash, Ali, and Bill Belton used to be on his staff. Like there's a lot of bulletin board type materials. You don't really need anything to make this. This is a big game for both teams, though.
Yes,
big game.
Yeah, and I think I don't want to use the word validate. They took care of business. The Millville win stands by itself, but you need to this week. I'm sure Coach Belton showed that film, whether it was Saturday morning or whenever he showed film, he's like, "Yo, guys, stop smelling yourself by the time we walk out of this film room because we made 10 mistakes here. Mm-hmm. Ding dong, doink doink boink." Like him and coach are figuring out. Look, we got a Camden High team coming in here that's going to be licking its chops, knowing that you guys are now the hunted. Now, how do you play? How do you now play as the hunted? Right? Right. I don't want to say it's easy to be the hunter, but typically Millville's been the hunter or the hunted. Now, Winslow, you are the hunted.
Well, and to the point of, maybe they haven't been in that position as much. Let's reverse the other position. How many times is Camden High playing with house money? Where it's not about playing Camden High. It's about who's Camden High playing this week. And, yeah, we'll see. That's an interesting game. I'm sure a lot of folks will be interested in that one. And, again, I cannot reiterate this enough. If you go to that game, do yourself a service. Go get the walking taco and tell them Mark Tribble sent you.
Donnie Hill posted that they are doing a tailgate over at Winslow. So
Okay.
You got the walking tacos, you got the burgers, the hot dogs, the sausage.
They posted the tailgate.
It's almost like a mini turkey game. It's like a family reunion. It's going to be one of those.
So we're taking half days on Friday, right? Is that what you're telling me? It's half day. Half day on Friday.
Half day on Friday. Ocean City at Mainland, another big rivalry game, 6 p.m. This is a big one. Mainland dropped the game to St. Augustine last week after blowing out Cherokee, after getting blown out by Millville.
And it's a bridge game?
Yep, it's the bridge game. See what color the bridge is. Ocean City, look, lost a tough one a couple of weeks ago. One possession game to Atlantic City at home. But other than that, they've been flawless. They took care of business against Hamilton last week on the road. Big game down in that area. Should have some pretty good weather this weekend, too, I think.
70s, mid-70s during the day.
You going down the Crest this weekend? No, it'd be at Citizens Bank Park. Pleasantville at Woodstown, interesting game you wouldn't usually see on the map, right?
That's
7 p.m. at Woodstown. Pleasantville fell short against Hadfield last weekend. Woodstown took care of business against Pensgrove. So very, very, you look at the West Jersey League, there's always matchups. You think this is not a matchup that I would ever have just planned out, but it's a good one. I think that's the case for Pleasantville and Woodstown. Absolutely. Pleasantville has played everywhere, by the way.
Yeah, they travel.
They have to have more miles on their buses the last few years.
They'll go.
They've played all over the map.
Well,
You know what it is? I think it's the bus thing. The Greyhound.
The Greyhound.
Yeah, it's the Greyhound station. They said Pleasantville can play anywhere. They got buses right down the street. Riverside at Bishop Eustace, 7 p.m. Riverside lost last week to Holy Cross. Bishop Eustace undefeated. We talked about them. And West Deptford Haddonfield, the rivalry. It'll be Coach John Emmel's first time as a head coach in the rivalry. Coach Delano's chapter, whatever of the rivalry. He's had so much success in that matchup. 7 p.m. at Haddonfield could be an interesting one, huh?
It will be. I mean, again, that's one great place to play at Haddonfield.
Absolutely.
Great environment. Towns come out. Both towns come out. No love lost here on the 295 drive between West Deptford and Haddonfield.
Shalleck at Paulsboro Saturday at 11 a.m.
You're missing. Don't we? The game that I'm going to be at.
Shawnee at Cherokee. Yeah.
I think I might go to that
Tell
one.
us about that game.
It's Shawnee Cherokee.
They play often.
Oh, they love each other, right?
They
never see each other. It's no big deal. Hey, well, in all seriousness, you got a 3-2 Shawnee and a 2-3 Cherokee.
Yeah.
We talked about it
they both need it.
They both need it, and it's at Cherokee. It's kind of a unique thing. It's not because of the schedule flip. They played at Cherokee as well last year, I believe.
Okay.
So it's with the new schedule flip. Usually the district works that out, but it's back-to-back years that Shawnee's travels to Cherokee. Both staffs obviously familiar with each other. Great place to play, great environment. We talk about it all the time, being in the bowl, and mutual respect out, for both these teams, but no love lost on the other side, right? These interdistricts, they like to, get after it a little bit.
Chris Baker, he alerts us Pleasantville had to go to Seneca for a division game this year to the point. Pleasantville, Seneca, not close. And Tom Adair is in the chat. Tom is watching. Fish is watching. I mean, this is a who's who right now. Yeah.
Tom Sr.
Yeah.
Did TJ help him set up his?
I don't know. I don't know about that.
That's a good one.
I mean, I'm guilty of it too, Coach.
I was going to get the rim shot. I forgot.
I mean, I'm some of the same.
You're like you said before the show. I'm the tech guy. Saturday, the two big games Saturday. Shalleck at Paulsboro, 11 a.m. Camden Eastside at Pennsauken, rivalry game, no love loss at noon on Saturday too. Two things, Mac. First off, can we talk about how last Friday night at about 11:30 or midnight, the ACC completely did a number on my Hokies with that Hail Mary reversal.
I was thinking of you as I'm watching it. I'm thinking, because I'm like, Miami needs it to stay in the running, right? And
that's why they got it.
yeah,
And that's why they got it.
but
That's why they got
do you
it.
think they got jobbed?
Shaw, don't worry about it.
Do,
We know
do you
what
think they got
did.
jobbed?
I don't think it's conclusive evidence to overturn the touchdown.
So you
call.
think somebody up in the ACC booth said, "No, this is
It's better for us if Miami's undefeated at number 7.
correct."
Game day is going to be at Cal this weekend.
Correct.
Right?
I get it. So they made the Hokies the sacrificial.
I'm not saying they sat there and said, like, but the better team usually gets the benefit of the doubt when there's a question, right? But I just think you called a touchdown, it wasn't enough to overturn it, in my opinion. And my opinion is very biased and orange and maroon tinted glasses.
Yes, you are.
And they also should never been in that position in the first place. But that's neither here nor there.
Is it maroon or is it like it's like a plum?
Chicago maroon.
Okay, it's like a purple.
Chicago maroon.
Like a plum.
It's not a plum.
It's not scarlet and gray.
It's not red. It's not maroon. It's not
scarlet.
Yeah.
It's Chicago maroon.
Chicago maroon.
All right. Before we go to next week's game of the week and best 11 rankings.
We glazed over Camden Eastside, Pennsauken. Oh,
I said
but
that, yeah.
Then again, you go another player that you see who, like when the recency bias.
That's what I was going to ask. Best player you've seen?
That I've seen in my life play football?
High school football.
That's what I mean. High school. And Mike Rozier. I got to see Mike Rozier play. Like, I'm talking, my brothers played against him. My dad, I got to see Mike Rozier play 6 high school games. I mean, that dude,
that's
he
pretty
made
good.
Eustace was beating Woodrow Wilson in 1978 or 9, Rozier's junior, senior year, and Wilson's losing, and they throw a screen to Mike, and everybody in the whole place knew it was going to Rozier, and he made people look silly. He scored. He was a special player.
Every year
Special.
this time, though,
Special.
Rod, you know we do this every year, and we still will never find the answer. When Pennsauken plays Camden Eastside, the all-time team from both sides, who wins that game?
The all-time teams?
Sauken versus Wilson/Eastside.
Sauken.
You just said the best player you ever seen play.
Okay. But see, hold on. We're going to go down a rabbit hole. When Dwight Hicks played, with all due respect, I was 4 years old. I loved Dwight like a brother or an uncle, but I was 4 or 5 years old, so I couldn't grasp how good Dwight Hicks was, who was the captain of Michigan and was the captain of the San Francisco 49ers and 2 Super Bowl rings, et cetera.
Well, let me say it this way.
Now, I know Mike won the Heisman. I know.
Is that the best alumni game in South Jersey?
Oh, they can still play right now.
But if you pick all the schools have their best alumni team, are the 1 and 2 in the best 11 rankings, Sauken and East.
All right, man, I'm really going to date myself. So if you got Art Still, there'll be people banging up here. Art Still, Camden High.
RV's up there, right?
RV.
Art Still, Derek Ramsey.
Derek Ramsey. And,
Paul Spur's up there.
Yeah, I mean, but like when you talk about the Art Still, like John Madden still said, if Art Still wasn't number 67, he would have been the most known guy in NFL.
Pemberton.
Well, yeah, Pemberton back.
Irv
yes.
Smith?
Yeah. I mean, look, that's a whole other show in itself.
Mac, you spoke about, the player that you saw when you were 4. When I was 8 or 9, for me, it was Alonzo Spellman. That was the biggest human I've ever seen in my life. He had a size 22 shoe.
Yeah.
And I know this is football, but he was in a slam dunk competition doing every dunk that Jordan did the year before.
Right. Well, but at 8, you understood watching him play, right?
Not until I got a little bit older and I really realized.
To me, Dwight was like my older brother. I didn't know what he was doing.
Right.
Like, with that team, I was like, okay, blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, now, you talk about Johnny Taylor. Now, you get the guys at Penn.
Madera's right, though. Cross had some.
Oh,
Coburn,
my God.
Lundy,
Now we got, all those cats, too. I mean,
That would be interesting.
Yeah, we should.
All
We should do a
19
show on that.
All time team. Maybe I'll try to get something together.
yeah, but look. In all due respect to Tom, I know Holy Cross had some dudes, but they didn't all live on the same block, right? Like,
Yeah, that's
and
a little
Camden High would say if Del Air was in Camden, nobody would know who Vince McEnany is, right? Because the McNairs and the Taylors and would all would have gone to the High. We're talking how many blocks? We're talking a street, right?
We're talking walking across the street.
Right.
You know, that side is Pennsauken, the other side is Camden. Like it's
right.
that
And
close.
my dad always used to say too, if they didn't close Merchantville High, thank God the Merchantville High redistricting kids didn't go to Cherry Hill because he would have lost all the Severians. So because the Merchantville shut down, they all would have went to Cherry Hill,
Right.
but instead they all go to Camden High and go to Pennsauken and play fullback from 1977 to 2000 or whatever. 15 years of fullbacks.
So I have a question. I know we're going down a rabbit hole, but here's my question. And me and Mark kind of talked about it earlier. If there's a player, like we were talking about Fidel Diggs and how good he was, and if we could drop him into today as a senior back on that team, how impactful he would be.
Right.
You didn't realize it when he was playing. Who's a guy that you feel you can drop into today's era and just have the impact that,
Greg Mark, Pennsauken High. You take his game would travel from the 80s, 90s, 2000s. You know, he could play hoops, he could dunk basketball. He played D tackle for Miami. He played tight end in high school. He played defensive end in a 3-4, which is really an outside linebacker position. But oh, by the way, on the other side of him was Davey Griggs, right? I mean, that's crazy. Think about that. Those two cats. But so Greg was playing at Miami. He was a stone cold winner. But then I just saw a picture the other day. Someone sent me at a pep rally, Timmy Loper.
Oh yeah.
Timmy Loper.
Yeah.
Like Lope could my mic was good. Timmy was just different. You know, I'm going down I'm starting.
So in the chat, if you guys can post that, who is one player that you can drop in today's era and they will have that type of impact?
That could travel, right?
That travel and impact.
Yep, that can go. Because there's some dudes that would play at any level, at any era. The game has changed in a sense of a little, obviously it's spread out, a little more passing, a little bit of this. But those older guys will say, let's say Timmy Loper. He'd be like, Mac, if your dad was running spread and I had nobody, and there wasn't 8 in a box, I would have had a 250 a game, right? Right? And
how about Foley?
Yeah, I mean, Foley actually threw it up. Foley was throwing it 20, 25 times. And Pisarcik was
their throwing it 45.
Right, but Pisarcik was their own coordinator. Pisarcik was bringing in stuff where people were like, what is going on? What do you mean you're doing full field reads in high school?
Right.
So those type of, that was cheating because you had a Pisarcik mind and he had dudes who could do it, starting at Cliff and Glenn and Kevin. Eddie's the only one to play with his hand on the ground. I mean, all those guys could chuck it.
Here we go. A lot of Kevin Harvey responses. We also have here Shadid, Talaferro, Dane, Brackett, Dennis Thomas.
Yes.
I mean, I see Dennis Thomas on TV on Saturdays.
Dennis looked like he could play now. He definitely looked like he could play now.
Zach Dumas, of course, Charlie. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of greats and I'm not even, I'm only going. I'm not that old, right? I mean, there's some guys. Oh, I bring up in the show before, Walt King. Walt King was in the same era as Franco Harris, right? Franco's at RV, Walt King's at Cherry Hill West, right? And my dad tells me till he died, he said Walt was better than Franco. All due respect to the Franco Harris guys out there, but that's my dad's opinion because he coached Walt, so it was different, right? And Walt's sister used to babysit me, so I'm a little biased too in that world, too, right? So, but. Man, right? Walt King was a dude, and at Cherry Hill West, and obviously so was Franco Harris. So you have guys upon guys, and
Leon says Greg of Pennsauken. That's his choice. David Griggs.
Griggs. Well, you had Billy and Dave.
Sean Green, Winslow.
Dudes, they're just I watched that. Coached again. I mean. Scary. It's these guys are like scary that the dudes you talk about are the dudes you hate to coach against and you love to have on your team, right? Like just oh, how are we going to prepare for that guy? And man, if we had him, like if we had that guy, they're just special cats that and it's cool that we can call them South Jersey guys. It's like they're all outside of our universe. We're all that inner competitiveness, but there's a lot. I mean, but I'll put Salkin's all alumni team against.
We might have to do a show like that.
That'd be a great show.
Yeah.
A segment where we list the it has to be offense and defense because these guys are.
Listen, you get some Penn Salkin alumni on this, they'll be like, Mac, we'll put our 70s team against people. We'll put our 80s team against people. They have inner fights between each other. Who's better, the 70s, the 80s, or the 90s teams?
We don't have Nielsen ratings, but if we did, I think you'd see spikes of the ratings in Pennsauken.
Camden County.
We're heavy in Pennsauken with
Camden County.
with the 45 to 75 demographic.
Well, that's who buys the products.
Absolutely. Fish will come on and help with that show. Let's talk about, we've got a great game this week with our current crop of players. A lot of great players, South Jersey history, some great players this season and some great teams. So when we come back, we'll do Game of the Week, Best 11 rankings, and we'll send you off for your travels this week. So stay tuned to the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show. The South Jersey Football Frenzy Show's presenting sponsor is the West Jersey Football Coaches Association. The West Jersey Football Coaches Association was established to promote, improve, and unite football in South Jersey. And in less than 4 years, the association created the Battle at the Beach and dedicated itself to helping others. They've donated close to $80,000 to date to provide scholarships through the National Football Foundation and the Touchdown Club of Southern New Jersey. The group has also donated to the charity Philly Faces, which helps those in need of facial reconstruction surgery. Thank you to the West Jersey Football Coaches Association for their sponsorship of the show. The South Jersey Football Frenzy Show is also sponsored by SRA Home Products. South Jersey, let me tell you about my friends over at SRA Home Products. SRA has been building sunrooms, pergolas, and patio covers for over 25 years. They've built more than 9,000 projects in the Delaware Valley. I've had nothing but the best to say about Mike Foti in the time I've had the chance to be around him and his crew. SRA is a gold accredited member of the Better Business Bureau, under the elite provider status with Home Advisor, and they've racked up Best of South Jersey awards throughout their past. They contribute to multiple sport associations and are huge supporters of Williamstown football. Find them online at srahomeproducts.com. The South Jersey Football Frenzy Show is also sponsored by the NJFOA South Officials Association. Are you passionate about football? Don't wait. Become a part of the NJFOA South Officials Association and join them to help officiate high school football games. With a diverse community of more than 250 members, they proudly oversee every high school football game in South Jersey, setting the standard for officiating in the state. By joining the chapter, you will become part of a team that upholds the highest standards in the game. They are more than just officials. They are advocates for sportsmanship, integrity, and guardians of player safety, champions of fair play. They offer the proper training to ensure you're ready to make the calls and uphold the values. Ready to put on the stripes and join the team? Visit www.njfoasouth.org and hit Join Us to register now. That's www.njfoa-south.org and hit Join Us to register now. Elevate your love for the game and become a football official with NJFOA South. Welcome back, New Jersey football fans, to the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show. Mark Trimble here at Studio B, and we're ready for our Game of the Week. It's going to be one that seems like is always in the mix for Game of the Week every year when they face off. The Holy War, St. Augustine Prep at Holy Spirit, 6 p.m. in Absecon. The teams have alternated wins the last 5 years. Last year, the Hermits won 14-0. St. Augustine has one loss, was to Winslow a couple of weeks ago, 21-7. They bounced back last week, taking care of Mainland, 21-3. Holy Spirit lost to Millville in the opener, battled the Beach, 35-0. And since, they've been pretty good. They won at Camden a couple of weeks ago. I saw them do that at Farnham Park. They have a great kicker, as Mac loves. And Last week they took care of Cedar Creek. So Holy War, you know what you're going to expect, Mac. You bring your hard hat, you bring your rosaries, you bring everything you got, the bagpipes, you bring the hooded hermit, you got all the action. You got Will Morris, the best statistician in South Jersey, no offense to anybody else. It's always going to be rough and tumble.
Street fight.
Toughest team wins.
Yeah. And
they're both very tough.
They're very tough.
Easier to set the over-under on this one than other ones.
Yeah,
this one doesn't go too high.
I'm putting it at 28.
Okay,
that's my
hope.
That's my over/under number. But look, this is the game, and you mock in the beginning with the kicking game, and I know there's a guy in our comments, Coach Madera, who like myself loves the kicking game because flipping fields and taking care of the football and making another team drive 80 yards it's difficult to do at any level, especially in a high school level. The question is, Spirit in years past has had the ability to have a quick strike, a little more dynamic, so to speak, on offense. But Augie, last year 14-0 shut them out. I mean, so the Hermits, they're lining up and they're going to play tough defense. And as the Spirit, like you said, the big win going to Camden from Absecon, so that was huge. This is a great game of the week, fun game for both squads.
Fun game, probably time-wise, not the longest game. I don't think it'll be a ton of incompletions.
You're out by 8.
You got to think that thick sod down at Absecon. Remember that Lenape Spirit game? I came home with the sod. I think I wore it on my head during one of these shows. That was COVID. Things were wacky then.
It depends, Coach. It depends down there at Spirit. They make a managerial decision depending on how they feel.
Yeah.
You know in pregame how they feel about their team speed versus who they're playing on based on when those lawnmowers hit the ground last.
Seen some wild games down there. There's a lot of little kids at these games, like thinking, I want to play for one of these schools, and which one do I want to play for? Let's see who wins.
Well, that's it. Look, that's the interesting thing. I mean, like we know that there's kids that go to different places, and these are two places that they say. It's always funny when I hear that when you hear in high school you're not allowed to recruit in high school. Well, these are private Catholic schools that have to fill their halls. Now, what's your best way to quote unquote show off some of your athletic department is beat the rival, right? I mean, it's pretty simple that way.
In any sport, right?
Correct.
And, in football, these two are always at the top of the line. It is odd, I will say.
Because if you're
it used to be the 3 games you knew you were going to or the 3 teams you knew you were going to see play each other probably once, maybe twice. Holy Spirit, St. Augustine, St. Joe Hamilton.
Correct.
And St. Joe Hamilton, since Coach Sacco's left, it's been a completely different ball game there. It feels odd talking about the Holy War of St. Aug and Holy Spirit and not factoring that other one in there. There were so many Saturdays you spent at Bendig Memorial Field in Hamilton. You could say that about 35 programs you remember when they were great, and maybe that isn't the case now. But it is, in my time in South Jersey, does feel odd talking about these two and the other one.
But it's interesting, right? Like Mainland with their resurgence, right?
Yeah.
Now, I mean that. Some of those
Mainland, Oakcrest.
Yeah,
right?
and so some of those kids,
Ocean City.
some of those families, when looking at different schools in different areas, hey, I don't want to I'm not going to my local, I'm going to XYZ school, and not just specifically for football, but hey, if your kid's a football player and you want to send them to a Catholic school, right? I mean, so you're looking at Augie, you're looking at Holy Spirit, right? You were looking at St. Joe's. I mean, they're and up north, you're looking at Holy Cross. You're looking at Bishop Eustace, Camden Catholic, if that's what your family's deciding to do. So, the fact that they're both good football teams, the fact that they both put good football players go to those schools, and they put a great product on the field. Yeah. It's a big night. It's always been a big night when these two teams play.
Exactly. Holy Spirit hosts St. Augustine, 6 p.m. Friday night, I will be there with the hat on down in Absecon. It'll take it. Maybe I'll have to get one of those Greyhounds. Get down there. Best 11 rankings of the week. Let's start with number 11. I believe we have a new entrance in number 11 in Burlington Township, who's undefeated. They took care of Delran 31-10 last week. Coach Everett has not lost in the Vegas Gold and Black. Paul VI back in the rankings. They're at number 10 after shutting out Willingboro last week. Their only loss was to St. Augustine earlier in the season. Number 9, Glassboro. Kenny Smith at running back debuted last weekend. They are the preeminent favorite to win Group 1 in terms of South Jersey, I would say. They're undefeated. They've looked the part. Now with Smith back there, their run game has jumped into another dimension. So Glassboro, number 9. Atlantic City, you got to give a lot of credit to Coach Wright and company for what they've been able to do. To beat Cherokee last week, 18-15, a huge win for them as Atlantic City.
I think that's one. You look at
8.
this top 11 and you think, most of these you kind of not knew, but you kind of figure, yeah, I can see that. Atlantic City might be one that's like, all right, they're earning their way up the ladder there.
AC and Burlington Township,
Yeah.
I think when you look at those teams, they've really jumped onto the scene. And Atlantic City, we've seen them the last couple of years, right? We saw them get the playoff win. Last year they played Washington Township in the first round. We know how good Ice Cup has been. But to see them take that initial step back with Mainland, the first game is closer than the score indicated, 12-point final. Millville, they're hanging there a little bit, and then things get away from them. But to bounce back here recently, excellent work by Atlantic City. They're number 8. Mainland's number 7. Rocco DiBiase didn't play last week, as we mentioned earlier in the show, as they lost to St. Augustine. They're number 7. Camden at number 6. Lost 2 weeks ago to Holy Spirit. Took care of business against RV last week. Scored 44 points. They have a big one this weekend as well at Winslow. Number 5, Washington Township. Took care of Williamstown after their loss to Millville. They just have one loss, and it's to the Bolts. Holy Spirit also has one loss, and it's to the Bolts. They are number 4. They are in our game of the week. Number 3, Millville. They play Delsea this week at home. Got a chance to bounce back after last week's first loss of the season. That was our game of the week when Winslow won 35-7. St. Augustine at number 2. Their lone loss comes to Winslow by 14. And Winslow, of course, number 1. We mentioned. There's no doubt about that. Winslow 1, St. Augustine 2, Millville 3, Holy Spirit 4, Washington Township 5, Camden 6, Mainland 7, Atlantic City 8, Glassboro 9, Paul VI 10, Burlington Township 11, and number 12. Well, number 12 doesn't matter because we just did the best.
We did the best 11 here. You only can play 11. And it makes it easy when the really good teams play each other.
It does.
Yeah, we don't. Nobody's like, whoa, who should be?
In the past, you really have to thread the needle.
Yeah. Now, hey, guess what, Camden High? You got a shot.
Yep.
Right? You got a shot. You're playing number 1. So that's what makes it fun, right? That's why they do it. That's why we do it. It's a cool. Some of those games that we taught, the matchups we got, that's why high school football is the best.
Absolutely, Mac. Thank you again to Rod Self and D2 Sports Network, Studio B. Beautiful facility. If you have a podcast need, you want to host a show, you want to do a photo shoot, be sure to hit up Rod at Studio B. He will hook you up. I can't recommend him any more than I already do, and it's a lot because he's the best. Mac, big weekend. Enjoy the Shawnee Cherokee throwdown. I'll take a look at that Holy War and let you know what I saw.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens with the Phils. Let's don't know who they have yet, but the Phils will be rolling.
By the time we get back here,
Spencer Ingram, Pennsauken High. That cat
just came to you.
Woo-hoo. Oh,
good one,
Spencer.
All right,
78-ish.
Bring your ideas to the show next week, too. Best players you've seen. We'll talk about this all season. I'm sure it'll keep popping up. I want to thank Fisher, Madera, Thomas, 3 guys who I had the pleasure of covering. Thank you for tuning in. Thank everybody for tuning in. Thanks, Chris Baker, for the help.
Also, Wayne Gilliam was over on YouTube.
Okay, and thanks, Coach Gilliam. Congratulations on the undefeated start for the Irish. We will see you all next week, Wednesday at 7 p.m. If scheduling changes because of the Phillies, we'll let you know in advance, but we'll be sure to see you live somewhere, sometime. Be safe. Have a great weekend. Watch some football. Enjoy it all. This is what we live for, the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show. Thanks for watching.